outside most of the day. My guys told us, so tomorrow so we feel like we're more
excited to finish the Bible, reconfigured myself to go back through, so I'm getting another opportunity to read back through Genesis. And a lot of questions that were brought up on last time on different personalities and characters are very fresh in my mind. And I can see the plan of God working even more. Just some questions I want us to go back and refresh. Simeon, Reuben, and Judah. When the original issue happened with Joseph and the pit, what was Reuben's part? What did Reuben do? See if we can refresh our memories. That'll help us to understand a little bit what we're going to deal with tonight. Reuben. What did he say? What was he initially known for? Reuben.
He was against everything he tried to do.
Excuse me?
He was against everything the other 10 boys tried to do.
All right. Reuben said, all right, let's put him in a pit. And his thought pattern is that I'll come back after everybody goes away and I'll release him and I'll bring him back home. Remember that. That's going to be key as we go through the story. Judah. What did Judah do? Judah sold him. Judah said, hold up. If we kill him, we ain't going to get nothing out of it. But we can sell him to the Israelites and we can move on in this process. Simeon, what is Simeon known for? You remember him with going into the city and hot-tempered, remember that? That's going to come up with all the family members. So we're going to kind of deal with those attitudes. But I really want us to focus in on Judah and Reuben because they're going to constantly come back in with this story. And you got to remember that background. Tonight, as we go back into that 43rd chapter, we actually got to the 6th verse, but I wanted us to kind of review. I wanted to refresh our memory to get those characters in our mind again and really to see God's plan. Well, last time we got in a lively discussion on the fact of was Joseph as nice as many people have said on the side to be, or was he dealing with some emotional issues, even some character issues, trying to follow the will of the Lord? So someone, if you don't mind, read 43, 1 through 5, just to refresh us, and then we'll transition to that 6th verse.
Now the famine was severe in the land, and it came to pass when they had eaten up the grain which they had brought from Egypt, that their father said to them, go back, buy some more food. But Judah spoke to him, saying, the land found the Lord are saying, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with you. If you send our brother with us, we will go down and buy you food. But if you will not send him, we will not go down. So the man said to us, you shall not see my face unless your brother is with you.
We stopped at that point. That was the standstill. Remember, the brothers had gone back. Their money had been restored. They're concerned. They've got one brother that's left in Egypt. He's in jail. It's been an extended period of time. They've run out of food. And now the daddy's like, and who is the daddy? Who's the father? Jacob or Israel says, go on back to Egypt, go buy some more food. And so they quickly bring up the point, we can't go back because the man who sells the food says you need to bring back the younger brother. So they're at the standstill at this point. Jacob is confronted with this reality, but there's been an extended period of time that they just kind of waited and didn't want to deal with issues. And I think in our life, if we can just take some symbolism here, sometimes we put time on things because we just don't want to deal with it. Jacob or Israel doesn't have the ability at this point to even think about the possibility of losing who? Benjamin. He cares about the other sons, but he really cares about Benjamin, okay? Because his heart is tied into Benjamin. Benjamin is kind of a replacement for who? Joseph, okay? So this whole process, and God will confront us in our lives. We have to deal with loss. We have to deal with those struggles that we have in our life, and just putting them off are not going to make them go away. You ever found that out? You can just put them off all you want to, but they're still going to be there. You've got to confront and deal with it. So now's the reality. How do I deal with this? So I'm going to read verse 6, please. What's his heart? Somebody put it in your own words at this point. What is Israel saying?
Why did you tell me?
This is an old argument, last lesson. He already brought this up, and then it's been months, possibly even a year or so, and now he comes back to that point. Why did you have to open your big mouth? That's what he's saying. If you had never opened your big mouth, the guy would have never known that there was someone else, and we could have had this process. And he's dealing with that. And in our lives, we've got to come to the point, God is bigger than us. God in this is working a larger plan. God allowed them to speak this. And plus, you've got an insider, which is Joseph, that knows about his own family, which they don't understand. So sometimes we can get frustrated at people, and I know this happens in my life. We can get frustrated with people, but God is bigger than people. And we try to put blame on other folks, but that prevents our healing and our growing. I'm telling you, man does what man does. All of us have issues, right? Is anybody that don't have any issues? Anybody ever lied in here? I just want to, Miss Francis, she didn't raise her hand. I think all of us, whether it's a little white lie, all of us have made mistakes. Therefore, the only one we can really trust is God, okay, in this whole process. But Jacob is still dealing with, why did you have to tell him? If you didn't tell him, I wouldn't be at this point, but he would have. Somehow, some way, he's going to have to confront this issue and deal with it. Look at the next verse, 43:7, please. Good point. Yep. You heard? Because Joseph was inside. They don't know he's inside again, but he asked them pointedly. They had two choices. To lie, but at that point you're not thinking about lying. Okay, this is the guy that's going to give us grain. He asked us a question. We just told him the truth. Has the truth ever got you in trouble? But always stick with the truth. They told the truth, they're here, and the brothers say, Daddy, how are we supposed to know? How are we supposed to know that he was going to ask to bring back the little brother? We didn't know that, and that's true. They didn't. That was the farthest thing from their mind in this whole scenario. Just the same fact, the farthest thing from their mind is that Joseph is what? Alive. That's the farthest thing. They think that Joseph is dead. So their processes are not in that point. And we got to understand, I found this out a long time ago and still deal with it. Everybody doesn't think like you. In essence, if Jacob had been there, I think he would have made the same decision. He would have did the same decision. A lot of times we try to project our personality on others, especially if we weren't there. Everybody doesn't think like you, but again, we'll say this a lot tonight, God is in charge. Someone read the next verse, please. What's so important about this scripture? We dealt with it on last time, but what's important about this scripture? Who spoke? Who's the person who spoke up in here? Judah. We talked about Judah. What did he do in the initial problem with Job? He suggested we sell Joseph into slavery. This is key. This is key. So now, years later, we're talking 25 plus, almost 30 years, Judah still carries around that sense of what? Guilt. 25, 30 years later, he's still thinking about what he did. Could some of us be here tonight still thinking about that decision we made 40 years ago, 30 years ago, 25 years ago, going, And so now we have retribution. We have Judah. Again, look what he says. He says, then Judah said to Israel, his father, Israel, which is who? What's the other name for Israel? Jacob. Send the lad with me. Who's the lad? Benjamin. Send Benjamin with me, and we will arise and go that we may live and not die. Okay, if we don't get food, we're all going to die. Both we and you and also our little ones. It's simple, Dad. I know you don't want to do it, but in order for us to live, one must be let go. He didn't say one must die, but he says one must be let go. This is the gospel, okay, in a sense. We realize in order for us to live, one had to die. And that was Jesus Christ for us. So we see this whole process here. Sometimes we can hold on to some things in our lives so much, it actually causes death to others that are around. And you got to let it go. So Jacob has to deal with this. And remember, it didn't use Jacob here. It used his name, Israel. Israel was that picture overcomer with God. Now, anytime it uses the Israel name, it means that he's stepping in faith. It's that picture of faith coming forth. He's going to make a decision on the faith side. Someone read the next verse, please. 9. Who said this? The one that sold Joseph. Talk about this a lot. The one that sold Joseph into slavery. It was his suggestion to sell him to the Ishmaelites. Now he says, hey, I'll take responsibility for him. I will be surety. What's surety mean? I'll be the payment for him. All right? I will be, which is kind of funny because Israel or Jacob doesn't want surety for Benjamin. In essence, he doesn't think that any of the boys can even come to the point of paying him for Benjamin. Okay, that's the important. He doesn't see their worth as enough to trade off for Benjamin. But Judah makes his statement. He says, if I don't bring him back, what? Let the blame be on me forever. But what we have to know in the background here, the blame is already on him for who? Joseph. The blame is already on him for Joseph. And he's carrying this over and over again. So now he's vicariously, what he's trying to do, okay, I messed up with Joseph. I'm going to make sure now I don't mess up with who? You ever done that in your life? You messed up, and so what you really try to do now, you overshoot yourself, and you're hoping if you make the right decision right now, it's going to make everything right what you did in the past. It's just not that easy. You should always do the right thing, but just because you do the right thing today doesn't erase the bad that you did 25 years ago or last week. Okay, you got to understand that. Some people live their lives. They do bad this week, and then they already figure out, well, I'll do 2 good things the next week, and that'll kind of cancel out the bad things. Life doesn't work out like that, okay? We always do that which God wants us to be, and he's always going to be dealing with this until there's a sense of forgiveness from the Lord. And that's what we're working to, a resolution of forgiveness in all parties that are involved here. Look at the next verse. Someone read, please. 43:10.
For if he had not lingered, surely by now we would have returned the second time.
I love this part. I just wanted to take a brief time. He brings this point that because of your procrastination, this is where we are. If we had went ahead and took care of this when we got back the first time, we'd have already been back and everybody could have been happy. So now there's a blame shift. All right, you're here having to make this decision now. If you'd have made it first, we could have been at peace. We could have had our food. Benjamin would have already been back. He's encouraging them, do not delay any further. And they can't really delay because they're running out of food. And so often in our lives, again, we delay the inevitable. We delay the inevitable. That's the issue. And if you're in this situation, I'm not pointing out, I'm not even thinking about anybody in here, but mortgages. People come to us often and they won't help with their mortgages. The problem is they come to us to help, only help with their mortgages after they're 10 months behind. So what in essence, they have been delaying the inevitable, trying to dig. Maybe we need to think on the other side, how can we prevent this from happening in the future? Maybe this is something that needs to be buried and we need to move on. This same process here, Joseph or Jacob has a hard issue of dealing with pain, dealing with problems of the past, and moving on. And we've seen that over and over in his life. His original name meant what? What does Jacob mean? Deceiver or trickster. Why do you have to be a deceiver or trickster? I'll make it easy. Because you have a hard time dealing with reality. Y'all get that? His name meant a deceiver or trickster. The only reason you need to be a deceiver or trickster because you don't like the reality. So you want to change the reality. You want to make it something that's more amenable to you, something that's more agreeable to yourself. And that's the whole process that he has a hard time dealing with the reality of life. Look as we continue on. Okay, let's go, Dad. Please let us go. Someone read the next verse, please.
If it must be so, do this. Take some of the best fruits of the land in your vessels and carry down a present for the men. A little balm and a little honey, spices and myrrh, pistachio nuts and all.
Sounds good, huh? What's Israel telling them to do now? Right here? Take gifts. Proverbs. I read Proverbs. If you want to get in good with somebody, give them a gift. Give them a gift. So he's using the logic. All right. I don't want this to happen, but I realize we gotta have food, and it looks like we're gonna have to send Benjamin. Let's put our best foot forward. We want to take the best that we have. Now, this is key. We're gonna talk about it a little later, I think, in the commentary. Everything wasn't gone. There were still some things that are there, but the grain was gone. Okay, and they knew that they couldn't live off their pistachios and nuts. So let's take the best that we have left and take it to Egypt and offer it as a gift so that they'll be nice to us. Benjamin can come home, everybody can be happy, and we can move on with our lives. Let's pay the Egyptian off. Which is contrary in thought, because who are the underdogs at this point? Who are the underdogs? Israel. Israel is the underdog here. All right? I mean, Egypt is the one who has everything to offer, but still, he's trying to keep the upper hand here. So we'll read the next verse, please. Smart dad here. Dave says, hold up. I remember it's been a long time ago, but the money that was put in there, we got to take how much back? We got to take the original plus we double. All right? And we're hoping that it was just an oversight on their part. All right? We're hoping that they really didn't think that we stole the money, but we're going to take double just in case so that we can kind of make sure. So we're going to make sure we got some gifts. We're going to make sure we got food there. We're going to make sure we got plenty of money. Hopefully we can get in and get out and nobody gets hurt. Surround.
That's how deceiving people do. I mean, even though you change your name or something like that, he's still a deceiver. That's all it is, from start to finish. Still a deceiver. Then you wonder why his children are like that. You see? I'm going to tell you, sometimes he's going to have to cut it off somewhere, but apparently he's not learning. And that's one thing I've always learned about stories in the Bible, part of the gospel, we're always trying to deceive somebody. But you know who the true architect of deceiving people is? I just wonder sometimes.
And that's the process. We see Jacob constantly wrestling with his past. I think all of us, don't there's some sense. I have to speak for myself. Sometimes my past pops up. Sometimes the way I used to do things, it'll flash up. Now I don't have to follow it, but every now and then it just kind of flash up. In Israel, this is pre-Christ. This is pre-Christ. He's still dealing with the way he survived. This was a fact of life. And now at suffering time, pressure time, what do? You tend to go back to the way that you once were. There was some hands up. Yes, sir. Did. This is a royally dysfunctional family. It really is. They are dysfunctional. Reuben, what else did Reuben do? He slept with his daddy's wife. This is a dysfunctional family. They're murderers. Remember, they killed the whole village. Tamar, they got that issue. Now they sold the brother. Think he's dead. This is a dysfunctional. It sounds like some of y'all family, don't it? Y'all know this. I'm serious. This is issues after issues after issues. But God is like, we're going to deal with it. We're going to work through it, but it's going to take some time. There was some hands. All right, someone read the next verse, please. Now this is key. I just want to stop here and look at it briefly. This is the crux. This is why it's been such a lengthy time. He didn't want them to take Benjamin. He finally comes to that point, whatever. And I can hear it through the scriptures and even his heart, the context. He's like, whatever. Whatever. I'm hoping for the best, but y'all failed me so many other times. I don't even know. We don't even see any prayer at this point. We don't see him grabbing his family around and maybe pray and seek Jehovah's favor. At this point, you can be so broken down in your life, you just kind of just go with it. And I think Jacob has to have this confrontation again. Remember when he wrestled with the angel? He's got to have this confrontation with his emotional point. And sometimes God allows us to get to the point that all you can do is just go, whatever. And God's like, finally, you're still not submitting yourself to God. You just got to, I give. You ever been in a little fight with somebody, and we used to play this at school, always lost, but you would fight with somebody was there, and they would get you in a lot. And the whole purpose of the fight was to get you to hurt so bad that you say, okay, I give. Uncle, that's what it was. Uncle, you ever been in that point? But even when I lost, I would go uncle because I was hurt, but I still didn't want them to win, per se. So we see him saying uncle, but the resolution still hasn't taken place in his heart that, you know what, I can't do this in myself. He's just saying, I give up because I don't know what else to take or other steps to take at this point. Deacon Brooks.
Yeah, I just would say, looking at this lesson, I hope you teach you getting that right down. We have to sometimes watch ourselves because we have to be careful to not to listen to Satan. It comes to us in so many good ways, so many good things. We have to be real careful because that's not done. But we'll take the wrong side. Why not just talk a little bit today about some things, some issues that we didn't just discuss in church and didn't need to because God worked it out. For the last 4 or 5 years, we have been going through some things. I mean, some serious things. Family things. But yet, nonetheless, we never try to listen to our faith in Jesus Christ. And he says that he would be everything for you. When you trust him, all you have to have is just a little faith size of a mustard seed. And we both use that faith. And we was talking about today how blessed we are. So we don't have no need to be angry with nobody. Just thank God that what he said is true.
Was there some other hands up? No? Yes, sir.
Yeah, I was just going to say his reluctance about letting Benjamin go is tied back to his wife. He's all left with her, and that's what he loved, his wife. So that's who's left.
Right, and he's holding on to it with everything that he has, but now he has to let go. And this is the point. He's been broken down. He's confronted with his choices. Now he throws up a shotgun prayer. You ever been there? Extreme uncle. Now you go, okay, God, I done made a decision. Can you? Someone read the next verse and I'll get that hand. This is how we pray sometimes. So may the good Lord help me through this. You know, we don't really want to talk to him. We kind of put a blessing upon a kind of side shot to God, just hoping for the best. That's why he prayed. We know he can pray better prayers than this. We've seen him in the past. He wrestled with the angel. Right? Is this the same man? But now, because of holding on and this life, here he is. This is a man of faith. This is Israel. Says, and may God Almighty give you mercy before the man, that he may release your other brother, and Benjamin. And then he says, if I'm what? Kind of sound kind of funny to you? What is he saying here? Read in here. What is he really saying?
If they don't come back, they don't come back. Let the chips fall where they may.
But is that faith? Now he goes, well, I hope God will do, but
I might be bereaved.
well, I might be reading. A double-minded man is unstable all the way. If we've been here, we all have been here. Thank God for His grace. He's just struggling in between, trying to prepare himself. He wants the best, but you prepare yourself for the worst. All right, they fail again. They fail me over and over again, so probably gonna fail this time. But maybe God, in His mercies, will bless us and get us all back to be the happy, dysfunctional family that we always were. Amen. He prayed that God help us to get back. And he's like, how you want to get back? The same way that you were before? Well, you're challenged, and that's what God is challenging His family. Benjamin.
I knew that Jacob was just like a sad answer of Joseph was so sad. I don't know if he was about to let go of it.
He's mourning. He's depressed. You ever been there? And Brother Head brought up that holding on to the past. And when you hold on to your past, it's really hard to go to your future. And he's living his past. I can see him a very disgruntled daddy at this point. And his son, they're following that line. They haven't done anything to really encourage him. Yes, ma'am.
I think he also made Benjamin and Joseph in the Bible. His whole world is wrapped around those two because he didn't even say Simeon. He didn't even say his name, your other brother.
You're right.
And that's, basically saying you are really not important at all.
Haven't we all done that? I mean, you ever had something that you just held on to so much that you want to let everything else go? Maybe it was a favorite car. You had a mortgage payment due. We've been talking about mortgage payments, but we had a mortgage payment due, but you really love the car. So instead of paying your mortgage, Brother Moffitt, you must have known something about that. You paid your car note. That don't even make sense. I mean, you talk about a shelter or a car. We make choices a lot of time on that which we really love and care about. Doctor tells you, you really don't need to continue to eat salt like that. You really don't. But you love McDonald's. You love the French fry. Every time you go past those golden arches, all you see is you can smell the French fries. You way across the highway, you just smell those French fries. You hear what the doctor said, but you love it. And so what you do, you go and you get you some French fries, and you justify, you get a small fry. You get a small fry, you eat it, and then you get back to the doctor and say your blood pressure's up. You go, I don't know how that happened. Yes, you do. You made a choice. You made a choice to do that, which you shouldn't have done. In this same process, over and over, this struggle in our life. And we see here Israel. He's struggling, going back and forth, back and forth. Someone read the next verse, please. 15.
So the man took that present and Benjamin, and they took double money in their hand and arose and went down to Egypt, and they stood before Joseph.
Brothers, sad day. I love it that they take the present and Benjamin. Actually, when they took Benjamin as the present, because that's all that Joseph wanted was Benjamin. So, and think about it, there's another side of this. Joseph has been back in Egypt waiting with who? Simeon. For a long time. We don't know how long, but it's a good little bit of time for that initial grain to run out. A long time. And I know Joseph's wondering, are they even going to come back? And I know for Simeon is in jail. He is not in the executive suite. He is in prison, waiting all this time. I know he's thinking, they ain't going to come back. If anything, Daddy definitely ain't going to send Benjamin back. This is where I will die at. So this whole process at this point, they get to this point, they get everything together, the gift, the money, the gifts to give to Joseph, the Egyptians, and now they're making their journey. Someone read that commentary, please. Well, this is key again. We talked about it earlier. We talked about Benjamin being a gift or a sacrifice, but Judah himself says, I'll be assured. Jesus comes from the line of who? Judah. So that same process. I tell you, Jesus, thank God for his grace and mercy, because he has some really characters in his line. He really did, and it shows a loving God can even use the mess-ups to save us and to deliver us. Notice as we go to the next verse, 43:16. Someone read, please.
When Joseph saw Benjamin with him, he said to the steward of his house, take these men to my home and slaughter an animal and make ready, for these men will die with me at noon.
Wow. He's excited. Right? He's excited. He's been waiting all this time. He finally sees them coming. So what does he do? Let's have a feast. Let's party. What does this remind you of, Bible scholar? The prodigal son. You know, they've been gone a long time. Aren't they prodigal? They're definitely out there, just dysfunctional family. They've been gone a long time. They finally returned. Joseph and that same precursor thing. Okay, celebration. They're here, and who's with them? Benjamin's with them. We're going to have a celebration. Take these men to my home, slaughter an animal, make ready, for these men will dine with me at what? At noon. Everything's in place. But there's still this issue. Joseph has not done what? Revealed himself. All right, don't you fool yourself. You're like, oh, Joseph's such a nice person. He is. Thank God for Joseph. But he's still, in some respect, deceiving, right? He could have told them a long time ago, but this whole process, and even in our issues in our life, God can still use our mess up. And I really think Joseph, at this point, he's battling. What am I going to do? What am I going to do? And remember, we all came to the resolution, I think, he does want to get back at them. He does want them to feel at least some of the pain, to be some kind of retribution in this process, and we all struggle with that. But God is still using it on both sides. So it's set, the meeting is set up. Someone read 17 and 18, please.
Then the man did as Joseph ordered, and the man brought the men into Joseph's house. Now the men were afraid because they were brought into Joseph's house. They said, it is because of the money which was returned in our sacks the first time that we are brought in, so that you may make a case against us and take us to slaves.
What's going on? Here's a gator. When you mean, all of a sudden this guy like, come eat with me. You're like, oh Lord. He remembered the money. So what he's going to do is he's going to take us to his big house, and there's a court going to be set up. They're going to try us, and we all gone. We are doomed. Now, if this is not suffering, I don't know what is. Joseph could have stopped this on the first. He didn't even have to send them back. He could have told them. He could have told them, I'm Joseph, and this story could have been cut short. But this is a lengthy process that's been pulled out because in some sense he does want them to suffer. He does want them to admit that they got issues. So this struggle here. And we see on the brother side, they are. They're afraid. They're like, it's over with. And I know, and we're going to find out because I've read the rest of the story, they're thinking, their process is thinking, this all ties back to what we did to who? You ever been like that in your life? I've counseled some of you, and you like bring back something you did bad some years ago, and you kind of go, man, if I wouldn't have did that, my life could have been a lot better. If I only would have did that right, then I wouldn't be where I am. And a lot of times, they're not really connected like that, but because we carry that junk with us, we kind of, it's like self-detrimental to us. And this whole process, they're thinking over and over again, when bad things happen, it must be tied back to this, because they never resolved that initial issue that they had. Any comments, questions so far? Yes, ma'am.
But I mean, at the same time, Joseph, I look back to the beginning of who he was and how well taken care and how he was put on a pedestal. And so, you know, as just like they know, the brothers know that they did wrong, I'm sure somewhere in the back of his mind, he's got to still be thinking, well, you know, I was put up on this pedestal and made to, and even basically told them, you guys are going to bow down to me. I mean, even though all that, you know, is in the past, being so full of wisdom, which, you know, I pray that's what it is, he could see, you know, where they are now and say, okay, God, it's me. You know, I mean.
And that's the problem.
Yeah.
In this, he doesn't. And this is scripture, this is context. It has not dawned on Joseph yet that this is a fulfillment of the prophecy. It is. We're going to have a eureka moment. We're going to have a revelatory moment eventually. We're going to get there. But at this point, he's caught up, I think, and I don't want to be as front, but I want them to pay. I want them to understand. I want them to be repentant. That's where he is at this point. But he's going to get that revelation. It's going to go, bam, oh, okay. But right now, it's kind of a game, a cat and mouse game that he's playing. Yes, ma'am.
I don't think he's so much vengeful now. I think he was at the beginning, but maybe now that some years have passed, I think he really just wanted to know that everybody was okay. And I think now his decision is, do I want to get tangled up with these people again? If I don't say anything, I just know that they're alive. I know that Benjamin's okay. I know Dad is alive, and I can kind of look over them from afar. But, you know, I'm not in their lives anymore. Do I really want to be a part of their lives again? Or can we just, you know, just stay separated? I know that they're alive, and I'll go on my life just knowing that they're okay. That I don't want to get involved with them again.
Now remember what Bianca said. Alright, she doesn't feel he's vengeful at this point. She's just kind of working things out. Because I'm going to challenge you with some stuff that he's going to do a little later. Alright? What he's doing now does not even compare what he's getting ready to do. So this whole process, he's struggling, he's dealing with that. And we got to question that quotation, what is vengeful? But he's being used, or he's coming to the point of trying to humble his brother. All right? And that's going to come out. He himself is struggling because he constantly, we see this weeping process that we're going to get to that he goes through. Yes, sir.
My father, Jacob, stole his brother's birthright. His father did that. Okay? So, the receiver, his genes carrying on all over that family. So right now, he's at the point, too, that he's done stood on the school. He's trying some, you know, devious ways of deceiving his brothers and all that to get to what he's going to come across. I'm telling you, like father, like son, it's all coming. But I don't think the final portion of it's going to be like this. He's just going to break the boat like this and start all over again, I guess, with the family. And finally get daddy straight to power. But I'm saying right now, it's all, see, it's like the father. The father started it, and he's there, right there in it.
Isn't it amazing how we can see ourselves in our children? That's why sometimes I just have to say, I'm sorry for my kids. And I see myself. And I already know, they look at me, how do you know, they don't think, sometimes they don't think I know what they're going to do. It is not because I'm so smart. I told them that. Didn't I tell you? It's not because I'm so smart. It's just I already done made that mistake. I'm not trying to be so smart. I know where you're going to go because you got my genes. And you most likely I'm using a deductive reasoning at this point, all right? And this same process, as Joanna was bringing out, you see that same foot mark or that foot stamp on the life of Joseph as he's trying to deal with life in his own way. But God is bigger. As I said, we're going to bring that. He's bigger. Sister Dora. So Sister Doris brings out a point. She says it's a political decision for him. He has a political position that he has to protect, and he has to learn who these brothers really are at this point. And we deal with all these things that are mixed up. So I'm going to go ahead and read these next verses, 19 through 22, please.
They talked with him at the door and said, "Oh, sir, we indeed came down the first time to buy food. But it happened when we came to the encampment that we opened our sacks, and there each man's money was in the mouth of his sack. Our money in full weight, so we have brought it back in our hands. And we have brought down other money in our hands to buy food. We do not know who put our money in our sacks."
I love this. They start squealing. All right? They're talking to who, though, at this point? They're talking to the steward of Joseph's house because he said, okay, we're going to go eat at Joseph's house. So all of a sudden they're afraid that this is going to be the last hurrah. So they start, hey, we didn't take it. We, really, it was just, we opened it up and it was there. We're sorry, but, we want to pay everything back. So is everything cool? Please let Joseph know that so we don't have to go to jail. That's basically what they said. So now these brothers are sweating. I mean, we're talking stress. Simeon's already stressed because he's in jail. We don't even see him. But these other brothers, along with who is under distress? Benjamin. Stressful situation. This is Benjamin's first time in Egypt. This is his first time, and he's like, okay, what's going on? My brother's supposed to protect me. And now his brothers are literally crumbling under this pressure. All right, as they talk to the servant of Joseph's household. So I'm going to read this next verse, 43:23.
But he said, peace be with you, do not be afraid. Your God and the God of your father has given you the treasure in your sack. I have had your money. Then he brought Simeon out to them.
What's going on? Servant says, it's all cool. I like this because this is interesting. Where are they? Joseph's house. The land, where are they? Egypt. But the servant talks about who? This is encouraging. This is encouraging because I really believe, I know this, that Joseph, as he lived in Egypt, he did not follow after the gods of Egypt, but he continued to worship Jehovah. And this is why he's even standing strong at this point, even though you think there may be some vengefulness coming up, and some struggles going on, and he could have killed him. But he did. And I believe because I know he's still worshiping Jehovah. And his actions of worshiping Jehovah have rubbed out on his servants. And his servants are Egyptian. Okay, we understand that he's in Egypt. And this is very important in our lifestyle. Could we be convicted for serving our God? When I say that, is there enough evidence, except for just coming to church on Sunday, that we really serve Jesus Christ? In this process, we see that even the servant had seen, okay, this is Joseph has been living the life of Jehovah, and therefore you're his brothers. I think he has some insight. I don't know how much the servant has insight on this, but he knows because they're Hebrews that they serve this God. So there's a whole process, some things that we don't know how much the servants know, but we know that there's some struggles that are going on. Yes?
You serve your God. You see, you serve your God, and they want to be part of that also. That's what his house. Now, I'm not saying what's outside the gate of his house, but they are servants. They call them servants. But what really are they? Slaves. Really. But he probably treated them as a special servant man. And so he probably served them for that. Your God is served. So then he probably said, well, in your house, you're going to serve the same God you do. Because we own you. I own you. That's the question.
And Joseph was known for his God at the beginning because of his interpretive skills. Remember that?
Yeah.
I mean, the Pharaoh lifted up the God of Joseph because no one else could interpret that dream. So that whole process, they knew, and it's another key, they knew Joseph never escaped his background. And this is key. He was a Hebrew. They knew it. And that was the process. He was a highly respected Hebrew, but yet his background was still his background. And that can go good or bad, but he was using it for the good, serving Jehovah. Yes, ma'am.
But even though in Joseph's house, Joseph still had a lot of the Egyptian things that were about him, and he probably even dressed as an Egyptian did, but he still had Israel in his, Jesus in his heart. God in his heart. But the thing of this is, the brothers wouldn't have known anything looking around in the house. You know how people in your house know that you see if you hear a Christian Israel, you got a picture of Jesus, the book of Jehovah, Jehovah's Witness or whatever. None of these things were shown to the brothers, in his house. So it was just like I have God in my heart, and I'm living for the will of God. But, I'm this high person in an Egyptian land, in Egypt. So it's just that, they couldn't figure out what was going on. If he had come there with the Hebrew sackcloth, across the shoulder, they would automatically said he's Hebrew and maybe put it together, but they couldn't do it.
The problem is the brothers are not looking for anybody. And I think in our lives, that's a big message. How often do we actually look for God to be working in our day? Yes. We pray to Him, we talk, but actually looking for Him to manifest Himself. They're not looking. In their mindset, little Joseph has been dead. That's the farthest thing. All I know is they're in survival mode at this point, and this God is in charge. They are not connecting in any shape, form. There's no thought pattern to even look for signs. I think there were signs in his house. I think if they would have took time and started looking at some of the pictures, you know how you go to people's house, you go, that look like somebody I know. But they're not even trying to connect the dots at this point because there's no reason for that. But at the same time, they're so caught up in themselves still. They're so selfish. I guess everybody's selfish on this side, right? I think there's a sense of selfishness on Joseph's side, trying to prove his point. The brothers are selfish, surviving. And then, I don't want to forget that, they finally bring back, they're reunited with who? Simeon! What's up, bro? Sorry it took us so long, but we had a little problems back at home. But we're back, okay? And I know he's like, wow, what took y'all so long? But they still have some big issues that are put before them. Surrounding.
You remember the story of the centurion came to Jesus to ask him to save and cure his slave? What did Jesus tell him? Your faith today, saved your slave. That's where a lot of people walking around and not knowing about Christ. And I'm telling you, with this little thing they ask you, that's when you as a believer have to be able to think the goodness of Christ.
Living the life. Look at the next verse, though. Confusing them. Someone read, please.
So the man brought the man into Joseph's house and gave him water, and they washed their feet, and he gave them donkeys.
They think they're going to jail. They already confessed, okay, with our fault they've got money, but we're willing to pay it back. So they're brought in, and they get royal service. They come in, feet is washed, donkeys are taken care of, water, all these, see, question marks, are you with the brothers? Like, of course, we're thinking the word, I would have been thinking the word, oh Lord. Like they're trying to fatten me up before they slaughter me. They must be barbarians or cannibalists. They're going to eat us. That's what they're going to do. They're thinking the worst. They never can embrace the good at this point. It's just that constant struggle that's going on. Someone read the next verse, 25.
Then they made the present ready for Joseph's coming at noon, for they heard that they would eat bread there.
All right, they're thinking, okay, all right, we're here. Daddy brought this present, let's get it ready. Because when we see him, because he's the man in charge, we're going to kind of bribe him. He's probably going to come in upset, but when he sees the gift that we have, everything is going to be okay. So Randall brought that up, trying to buy your way out of a situation. Trying to deceive, trying to change the reality of what's going on, even if you're looking at reality and it's not really the reality. If I said that right. You ever really believe something was one way and it was actually totally the other way? But when you were in that situation, all you saw was your way. And some of us have messed up our lives because we lived in an alternate reality. We believed something that was not so, but yet we believed it until the light came on and we could understand it. And these brothers are here at this point. They're fearful, afraid, struggling. What is going to happen next? Someone read that commentary, please.
But he still did not reveal his identity. Nor did Joseph prepare a banquet. When his brothers were brought to Joseph's house, they thought they were on the carpet because of the money they found in their sack. They made a complete explanation to the chief steward, and he in turn assured them that there was nothing to worry about. His records show that they had made it full. Simeon was released from prison and joined them in preparation for the banquet. They got their father's present ready to give Joseph when they arrived at Egypt. If we ask whether the replacement money was the truth discovered on the way back to Canaan, or when they had arrived in the presence of Jacob, the answer is both. The discovery was made in 2 stages. One brother discovered his flight en route, the other on arriving home. It is understandable that in relating the events to Joseph's steward, a compressed account was given.
We're on the same page now. Money issues are there. They want to pay it back. And sometimes when you read the story, there can be 2 viewpoints, but we pull those together. And the story continues on and begins to become more detailed. Someone read the next verse, please, 26.
When Joseph came home, they brought him the present which was in their hand of the house, and bowed down before him.
What's interesting about this? I want to underline those parts, those times, okay? That's key. That's big. That's big. First of all, they got the present. Give it to him. And because Joseph is the man, they bow down. Key. But circle that because we're not finished. Brother Ed.
I was going to say just fulfilling Joseph's dream.
Yeah. Fulfilling, but we got to see when does the light come on. They bow. See, for Joseph, is this out of the ordinary for people to bow down? Yeah. They didn't bow. Everybody bows to Joseph. He's second in charge of Egypt. When you come, you bow to Joseph. That's just because that's his position, and you recognize that. So Joseph is so used to that. I think even at this point, and I'm going to prove my point later on, it doesn't connect with him. This is the prophecy that's being fulfilled. I don't think it connects at this point. He's just going through the routine. He's still caught up with how do we want to describe it? How do I fix this? How do I reconcile this? How do I deal with this? Or somebody could argue that God is actually speaking to him, and God is telling him to do all of these steps. I don't want to go that far, but whatever is happening, he is doing this, and he's still trying to figure out how do I get to the end part where I can embrace my family again. All right? And it's been months, probably even years, since he met his brothers, and he's playing this game up to this point. Yes, ma'am, Sister Brown.
What do they call him?
Apapapania, something like that. It's like in Egyptian. All right? So they're not calling him by his Hebrew name. Right? So they would never even connect at that point anything. And he doesn't look like the little boy that they had put in that pit. So, a good point. Other comments? Next verse, someone read, please. Why is this important? Well, it's been a long time, basically saying it's been a long time since the last time we talked. Evidently, y'all dragged y'all feet. Has your daddy died? Because he already asked this question months, possibly even years ago. All right, daddy was alive. He knew that, but now since they come back, basically saying, did your daddy die in between the time it took you to get back here? All right, so he still cares, he still loves him, but still he's trying to figure out the family scenario again. Yes, ma'am.
But he had to ask that question too, because they told him that if they dropped him, the dad was going to die. The vision was there. He's like, well, what happened? Is daddy still alive or what?
Did he have a heart attack? Did he die because he said that? And we see this stress. Even though Joseph knew this was going to be a heartache to his daddy, he still. And we dealt with that on our last teaching. He knew for some of the repercussions, but he still, and there's God working it out, working on both sides of this scenario, this situation. Someone read the next verse, please. 28. One thing I found out about the Bible, it just doesn't waste words. All right, they're put there for a specific reason to encourage us to bring the light to our minds so that we can understand. So we ask that. I love the words of the brother. They say what about the Father? Your servant is what? Would you really describe him in good health when they left? No, it could say, well, he's kind of depressed and, he's bereaved and, he's on the verge of dying and we don't make this mission, good. But no, they use their best language. They use their political language at this point. Oh, he's good. He's great. He's wonderful. They're trying to keep their composure, watching out for their environment, seeing if something's going to go down. He's in good health. He is still alive. And then they bow their heads down and prostrate. What's prostrate? Yeah, they went flat. Ambiance to him. Again, prophecy being fulfilled. Next verse, someone read. How old approximately was Benjamin the last time Joseph saw him? Yeah, he was a knee-high. Knee-high? D-baby. He was a little thing. And now he's grown up. 25 or so years old, 20 to 25 years old. And Joseph sees him in their cliques. You can always see some semblance and everything. Maybe, I was looking at 60 Minutes, they said there's some super recognizers. They can actually recognize a person from the memory of their baby picture. So they can see a baby picture of Newt Gingrich or something, and they would know that was Newt Gingrich. Some of you can see, you ever seen somebody's baby picture, you're like, I don't know who that is. Maybe like your mama, But some people have super recognition that they can, just by the traits of past, tell what that person will look like in the future, or they look like. So the same process, I believe he sees Benjamin in their flashback. And look what he asked, which is kind of strange because he's struggling. Is this what? Why does he say that? Is this your younger brother? Why does he say that? He hadn't seen him. He wants to make sure this whole charade, at least at this point, has been to get Benjamin to stand before him. And I love this. The scriptures say his mother, right? Which is who? Who's this the child of? Rachel, which is mutual mama. All right, so they got that blood, the real blood ties. Remember, he's got the half brothers, but Benjamin is the full. All right, same mother that's passed away, and just like his daddy has been holding on to Benjamin, the same respect Joseph, these love ties come up. And I know when he sees Benjamin, he sees Rachel, all these things flood back in. Is this your youngest brother? And he said, God be gracious to you, what? My son. Keep your eye on this whole picture here. Yes, sir.
I think that Joseph was trying to put you on that page because he is sad that he missed all that and he knew it was their fault.
And that's the question. Is he trying to somehow bring retribution upon them, make them suffer because of all the years that he suffered? And I'm telling you, we have a good argument towards that. Of all this process that's taking place, thank God he's bigger than all of what we can do. God is going to be glorified in this. Was there some other hands? Yes, ma'am.
I was just thinking, he put a whole lot of pressure in a small package compared to the years that, what he had gone through. And that everything that he's thinking about, from the time they're seeing them coming, preparing everything and sending them back and setting them up and having them come back, that's a whole lot of pressure in a small package for the years or whatever else that they you know, they're having to go through, you know, whichever.
So Wilma, are you saying that he should have made him suffer more, or are you
No,
saying that
no,
this don't even
I'm
compare,
saying
this is a light?
No, I'm not saying that it's light, but I'm thinking that the pressure that he is putting on him
Okay.
is a lot in a small frame of time.
All right, so he got to get back at him real quick.
Yeah, he looks like he's just trying to, okay, I got this much more to go, and just let me just cram it all in there at one time, and, you know.
We do see those
Feed
struggles going
myself,
on.
yeah.
Trying to figure out how far can I go. Look at this next verse. Someone read, please. And we're out of time. I really want you to examine this verse, and I want you to meditate on it. All of this, vengefulness, non-vengefulness, God speaking, political points, comes to this verse. And this is not the first time he's done this. What's going on? So as we come back, I want you to, on next time, I want you to really be able to comment on this verse. What is he feeling? Where is he at? Is he just frustrated with himself? Is he just overwhelmed with love? What's all this emotion that he's dealing with at this point? And of course, when you come back with your answer, I'm going to challenge you with your answer, because there's some other stuff that's going to happen. All right? Any final comment? Yes, ma'am.
Well, Simeon, not so set himself up, you know, but, you know, he just, that beginning, his beginning led to, he's not even part of the 12 tribes, you know, and as you look at where he is in all of this.
Amen. All this tangled web. We come to your feet. Let's close out first.